Welcome to Next Question. I'm Caleb Fogarty, and joining me on today's show, Sutherland Sharks forward, Sydney Kings Sixth Man of the Year. It's Kouat Noi. How you going, Kouat?
What's up? Yeah, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good, man. So you're a couple of weeks into the NBL1 experience with the Sutherland Sharks. How's it been so far?
No, it's great. I believe, the organization has selected a great group of guys. Um, Getting Coach Sean Roger on this on as our head coach as well, has been huge for us and for me individually. And, just playing alongside, Jason Spurgeon, who's having a great year so far, and hopefully, you can use that momentum leading into next NBL season.
Leading into the year, you kind of heard whispers about a potential big name incoming into the NBL1 East, and then you hear, I think it might be Kouat Noi. Mate, I want to know, you are a Newcastle junior, but how did the whole situation lead to you joining the Sutherland Sharks?
There's a couple of teams that reached out to me. So, I really had to juggle my options and really look at what they were offering. Not just in terms of, finance and stuff, but, different aspects of, marketing, building my brand and Sutherland, just ticked all the dots in that aspect. So, I felt comfortable going there and like I said before, having Sean Roger, who's helped me in my NBL season. And just getting to learn from him and watching film with him and just picking up on the things that that I need to work on too. He's been great for me, so I just felt comfortable going to Sutherland, and that's why I selected that team.
Yeah, Sean Rogers, assistant coach for the Kings, head coach for the Sutherland Sharks. How's it gone with Sean leading the charge, the head of the snake for the Sharkies?
Yeah, I think he's taking this position very seriously. He's also a competitor too. So he wants to prove his worth as well as a head coach, and I think he's doing great so far. Obviously we're still early in the season and so much more games left, but yeah, he's just like us all, man. He just wants to learn and he wants to build and he wants to put a great team around the players and seeing their progress and see if they can get opportunities elsewhere, after the season's done as well. So yeah, he's loving it, and he's loving every competition, and he's taking this position very seriously, like I said.
Both of you being added to the Sutherland Sharks, they were a club last year in the men's division that probably didn't have the year they wanted off the back of a championship. Now they've inserted you, they've got Spurgeon in there. It's a hungry squad. Do you feel the drive that everyone wants to go to that next level and be champions once again?
Yeah, definitely. I see it at practice. Everyone's competing. Everyone's holding each other accountable. And when you have a great point guard, in Hutchinson, who's leading the charge in that position, it just makes everyone's life easier. And we have Luke Jamison too, who's just coming back from basketball, after being away a couple of years and seeing him progress and seeing him, finally get his name out there a little bit more. And I like to see them guys, hopefully get an NBL position or NBL call up one day too, because they're working their ass off too. So yeah, it's a great group of guys, man. Like I said, every team, it feels like they're coming at us. They want to beat us. That's just how I feel personally. So yeah, every game's not easy. I can tell you that for sure. Every team's stacked. Every team has players that want to prove a point and want to prove themselves. And because you never know who's watching, there might be Brian Gorgon in the stands. There might be Kings guys. There might be scouts watching. So yeah, NBL1 East is definitely the most competitive it's ever been.
I was going to ask, it seems like something just happened during the off season. I don't know whether all you star players had a meeting and saying we're sticking in the East this year, but it just seems to have exploded. Were you expecting this level of talent to come into the East this season?
No, honestly, no. After the Kings season, obviously I went down to China and did that experience, and I had my eyes on coming down to the East, and that's just after Jason Kadee signed, and I was like, yeah, it could be just me and him. Then you see a bunch of other guys, Jalen Galloway sign, and all these big names signing, so I got more excited. I couldn't wait to come back and play in the East and really you know stamp my position in the East. So yeah, like I said, man, it's the most competitive it's ever been, and it's fun. And it's not just for the players, all the videographers, all the camera people, they really they saw a chance in this to go out there and make a name for themselves too. So they're playing such a big part in making sure to expose the league, just like yourself too. Exposing the league to the world, and I think the East is the most hyped league like right now. It's crazy.
I could not agree more, my friend. The lead up to the Sydney Comets game that you just played, you've been in the NBL1, you were in the North for a while. Have you ever had such hype and intrigue around a matchup leading into an NBL1 game?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I've said what I said before, and hyped up a couple games, but this one is definitely up there because it's really against the dudes that I grew up playing with, and that that are New South Wales boys as well, like Baby Cho, Chola Dupe, and Mundine, and Boali Bales, who's I've won a championship with, and Gotch, the young talent there, and man, they're full of talent, that team, and we're full of talent too. So the hype leading up to the game was, you can feel it in the arena once you walked in, the tension, and the game didn't disappoint. To all the people that missed the game, I feel sorry for you because that had to be the best NBL1 East game like ever.
I was gonna ask, watching it back, I unfortunately didn't get to watch it live. I was out at Bankstown Hills, mate. Watching it back, it was chirpy, it was competitive, but the one thing too that really resonated with me, there was an air of respect between both teams. What was it like being in that you were both going at each other 100%, but at the end of the day, it's all love. At the end of the game, you're getting photos with the Savannah Pride boys. You've won a chip with Bawali. It must be a really cool feeling to know that you can go at these kinds of players, but then once it's all done, you're back at it.
Yeah, like I said, man, we're all competitors, We all want that edge over each other in a respectful way. And I miss saying David Hickey was on that team as well, and he's had a tremendous year in the NBL too, and he's really established himself for the long run. So man, just full NBL talent were in that arena this past weekend, and like I said, man, if you wasn't there, you just couldn't feel the energy. It was crazy, and and the fact that me and Chola Dupe and Gotch, were able to bring the South Sudanese community together. I had people texting me all day, like prior into the game, like, "Where can we get tickets? Can you find tickets and stuff like that?" So those the arena was packed with South Sudanese people too, just to go out there and see some high level competition of basketball, and yeah, we didn't disappoint.
Yeah, coming out of that game too, obviously your highlight over Dave O'Hickey, I'm sure you probably gave him a little bit stick after getting number one highlight on him. But the other big storyline coming out of that matchup was Gotch's performance. How proud of you were you of him?
Nah, like I've said before, man, like there's been a lot of hype around him, and I've seen him personally play, and he has a great size on him. He has, great the way he moves is it's like what a pro moves. He's obviously still young. He still has to build into his body, and once he does all that, and you can see he's willing to learn as well. Which is that's just a 1% that a lot of people don't have, and yeah, I'm excited to see his future and his growth.
I'm interested to note, mate, I was talking to Will Cranston-Lown, the two-time MVP for the Maitland Mustangs. He's down in the south right now.
Yeah.
When I spoke to him, I asked what was the difference that he's noticed from the east to the south. He said the south is a lot more slower. There's a lot more actions. He said he felt like he's going over a pick on the defensive end every second of the game. What's the difference between playing in the north and the east?
Um, the North and the East. I probably say pretty similar. Very physical, high pace, and just a bunch of NBL players too. Like when I was in the North, there was a bunch of NBL players, and obviously here in the East, I was fortunate enough to have all these talent come into the East, high level NBL talent, and so yeah, very similar. I would say the East is a little bit more physical. The ref, let a lot of stuff go, which is good. I like that physicality. But yeah, pretty similar in a way, and yeah.
So you're saying how competitive the East is. We've seen a lot of upsets. We've seen the Newcastle Falcons. They've decided that every win they're going to get this season is against top three teams, and then probably fall short. Have fallen short so far against the lower teams in the ladder. You've got Hornsby this week. You're coming off the back of losses to the Comets and the Seagulls, whereas Hornsby, they've won back to back. They may be a little bit lower, but they've got Mohamed Kone. He's very much like, we're going for the playoff spots. Are you guys not going to take the Hornsby Spiders lightly?
Yeah, 100%. Coming off two wins, that just gives you ultimate confidence. And the Horns, adding that piece, the Hornsby adding that piece, just changes everything. One guy can just bring so much confidence into a team, and I believe that's what he's doing right now. So yeah, we're definitely not taking them lightly. We want to get back on winning tracks. So we've got practice tonight and tomorrow. So we'll stick to the game plan. Really focus on what we have to improve on, all the mistakes we did this past weekend, and really try to implement that this weekend.
So, coming to the East, you'll be at some stage versing the Newcastle Falcons, your junior club. How's that going to feel heading against... They were the Hunters when you did play for them, but how's it going to feel playing against your junior club? Well, you've already done it, I should say.
Yeah, yeah, but we get the chance to go down there, like you said, and I haven't been to Newcastle for a while, so and playing in that arena since I was about 15 years old. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of emotions, most definitely. I'm gonna head down there 2 days earlier and do some media stuff. Talk to the radio. I believe I'm going to be on the front page of the newspaper or something like that. So, so that's going to be pretty cool. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of anticipation for that game, and I got all my brothers, all my cousins coming down to that game as well, to watch and support me. And yeah, like I said, it's going to be a whole lot of emotions, and yeah, it's going to be great to go back there.
You got a pretty nice little highlight play, the three-pointer over Miles Cherry, your former teammate. How was that matchup?
Yeah, man, me and Miles been playing together since under 12s. I remember, his parents used to pick me up early in the morning, just to go to NRTP camps and go to New South Wales, tryouts and all that kind of stuff. So that's been my brother since, I could remember. So yeah, just to get to see him flourish and still play ball at a high level, and his parents came to the game as well, so it was always good to see them. And yeah, there was a bunch of Newcastle boys that I grew up playing with, my brothers grew up playing with on that team, and a bunch of coaches that coached me as well. So yeah, it felt like the old days, man. I was just reminiscing.
And then I know it's a bit of an infrastructure question when it comes to the Newcastle and the NBL team. They really need to get a new stadium there. But how much do you think that region of the Hunter Valley, with the success of the Maitland Mustangs and the Newcastle Falcons, deserve an NBL team?
Yeah, no, it'd be huge. The Hunter Valley is growing in general, in the city's building. The last time I went there, I couldn't even, recognize it because, all these new buildings and all these trams and all that kind of stuff. So, it's on the right track of, building itself back up, and, having an NBL team in the near future will just be amazing for the community and all the young talent that's coming out there, give them the exposure they need and the confidence they need to hopefully, one day represent Newcastle in the NBL.
So with those two teams, so they got the NBL1 pathway. The NBL1 pathway is also perfect for the development players in the NBL. You see this with the Sydney Kings. You got Clara Samir, you got Spurge, who's playing on your team. The Flames in the WNBL, Carla Pittman, Caitlin Martin, Piper Anderson. The Illawarra Hawks have got development players in the league. How much do you feel the NBL1 is the perfect pathway system for these development players to get expanded roles and be able to flourish and shine?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, all you need to do is just play basketball, You just need to be on the court playing basketball. That's the only way you can build confidence and improve. For all these players, like you said, Spurs, Clarice, they didn't get the chance to play much in the NBL. So just being able to play, 30 plus minutes in the NBL1 just builds your confidence leading up to the preseason in the NBL. So it's huge, man. Like every NBL1 off season I played in, man, I've taken it very seriously. I've taken my off seasons very seriously. I got into the weight room, I got in the gym, I did my skill work, and really try to take the games very seriously, like I still do. And I feel like that has helped me tremendously leading into the NBL season, and that's why I was able to have great prior seasons and this past season as well.
And you touched on it a little bit earlier. We spoke about Gotch. There's Chol also in the Sydney Comedy, or Gum out in Bankstown. Plenty of South Sudanese players across the NBL, NBL1, the Waratah leagues. You were a South Sudanese player that has made it in the NBL, been very successful. What responsibility do you feel as a role model for these players?
Um, just leading by example, man. That's really all I can do. My words can just say so much, but if they're watching me and seeing what I do on and off the court and doing all the right things, that's put something in their mind like, man, I want to be like Kouat. He's doing the right things, man. He's being a great father. He's working out. Even though he had a great NBL season, he's still in the NBL. He's still not complacent. He's still pushing himself. So all I can do, man, is just lead by example, and hopefully they follow path. And I know they all listen to me. I know that they all want to follow my path, and I just gotta give them confidence to do it.
I understand you have a camp coming up for these players. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, still in the works with my agent. I spoke to him yesterday, and he sent me some ideas, some logos and stuff like that. But yeah, this camp coming up for the South Sudanese talent all around Australia. It's gonna be huge, man. It's gonna be something that I've always dreamed about, and something that the South Sudanese community needs here in Australia. And hopefully, people can watch that, and scouts can watch them, and coaches can come watch them, and just see the level of talent that South Sudanese players have, and hopefully they get the chance to one day represent the South Sudanese national team like I did, and yeah, the only way is up from here for South Sudanese, and hopefully we can bring peace to our country.
You did say on Love of the Game shout out SJ about a Blacktown team eventually being added into the NBL1 East. Whenever chat happens about what potential associations could be added, Blacktown is always mentioned as one of the top teams. You said that you would play for a Blacktown team. How important is getting them in the NBL1 East?
Oh man, like it would just be huge for the community, man. The Black Dam Storms, they've been there for the longest, and they just haven't had that next step to really establish themselves and have that position in the NBL1. So I'm really trying to push for it. Me and Coach Mayor, are having a meeting with you know the the governance around the New South Wales and Blacktown, and really trying to establish that Blacktown Storm team in the near future. And if we can bring that, man, just imagine the atmosphere, man. Just imagine the gym. Imagine just South Sudanese people packed all the west of Western Sydney, just in that gym cheering on, and the atmosphere would just be so thick. Like it would be one of the best atmospheres you could ever imagine, for sure.
Now, I got to ask, I've got you here some Sydney Kings questions. I hope you don't mind. Obviously, big signing news in the backcourt at the very least for the Kings. Matthew Dellavedova, Kendrick Davis, absolute buckets, but also some of the best passes of the ball in the NBL, I should say, not NBL East, but in the NBL.
Yeah.
What do you think their addition to the Kings squad would be for a scorer like yourself getting set up by some of the best passers in the league?
Man, it'll probably just make my life easier, honestly. Because they wouldn't know who to help off, especially if I start hitting down shots and Kendrick's hitting shots and Delhi's just playing tremendously. Like they wouldn't know who to help off. So I think those two pieces is what we needed, and that's what we were missing. And yeah, I was talking to Kendrick too when I was in China as well. He was calling me, and we were just talking about how excited he was to come down, and how excited I was to have him on the team. And Delhi also texted me, once he signed, and he said, he can't wait to, get me open shots and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, man, it's big time. We got all the right pieces, and it's falling all into place. And man, I just can't wait for the season to start.
Mate, Delhi's going to go from running those pick and rolls with Tristan Thompson. I can imagine you being on the end of some of those alley oops.
I know, I know.
I got to ask one more too as well, mate. Sixth man of the year. Congratulations. It was, I think, out of all the awards, I think that was the least one anyone could argue with. You were very
Mhm.
deserving. Do we maybe see a Kouat Noi starter at some stage next season?
Yeah, man, that's you know that's all I've been working towards, man. But like I said, man, it doesn't define who I am if I'm a starter or bench player. So I'm just gonna continue to work, continue to progress, and if I get that starting position, I'll be more than ready. And if I don't, I'll be more than ready as well. So and I've proven that, and yeah, hopefully that's what I want. I want to be a starter in the NBL, so I can have opportunities of hopefully being most improved player one day, and hopefully being a league MVP one day. That's what wakes me up every morning and striving for. So and yeah, that's it.
Kouat, thank you so much, mate. Best of luck this week against Hornsby Spiders and the rest of the NBL1 East season.
No, thanks for having me, man. Thank you.
Thanks so much, dude. That was awesome.